It's time for a book haul. I have acquired quite a few books these past couple months because I'm bored, and nothing cures boredom like shopping for books, am I right? Here are all of the books that I have acquired these past couple months. The first being Uprooted by Naomi Novik, which is a must-read book of 2020 for me, and has been on my TBR since it came out, which was years ago it seems like. I don't know what this is about. I think it's some fairy tale retelling of something or other, and I've heard some mixed reviews about it. And I'm curious to see where I fall because I'm not a huge fan of super flowery writing. I've heard that it kind of does have some flowery writing, but a lot of people love this book. So I'm curious about this, and I should probably figure out what it's about. It says a dark enchantment blights the land. Cool. Next book I have is Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I love this edition of the cover. The spine is so pretty. So I also don't really know what this is about because it's an epic adult fantasy that I've been needing to read for so long. It's like on every top fantasy books of all time list. If you look up online best fantasy books ever, this book consistently makes all of those lists. So I figured, okay, well, let's finally get around to reading it. The reason I've been putting it off for so long is because this trilogy, I think it's only a trilogy, is not complete yet. And readers have been waiting for the third book in the trilogy for just as long, I think, as Game of Thrones readers have been waiting for the next book. So that makes me nervous because I am one of those people who is waiting for Winds of Winter very, very impatiently. So I don't know if I will read this soon, but it was one of my must-read books this year. So I'm definitely going to read it this year. It's just maybe it will be at the end of the year. Hopefully when we get an announcement about the third book, maybe. Next book, Sun by Lois Lowry. This is the final book in the Giver Quartet. Each book has followed a separate story and characters in the world of the Giver. So I continued on with the series, and this wraps it all up and apparently does make all of the previous stories kind of come together and ties them all up with a neat little bow. So we'll see if that's true. Next book is The Vanishing Season by Dot Hutchison, which is the final book in the, what's this called? The Collectors series, I think. So it's 4 books. It starts with The Butterfly Garden, which I loved. I love that book. And it follows these FBI detectives as they solve different crimes, and they kind of have recurring characters, and they make hints to previous crimes that were solved in previous books. So this is the 4th book in that series, and I really enjoy these. They're always super, super dark, very disturbing, very messed up, right up my alley, but they always end hopeful, which is very important to me. The next 3 books I have are Blood of Elves, Time of Contempt, and Baptism of Fire, the first 3 books in the Witcher series. I did read the 2 short story collections prior to going into this series, and I recommend that you do that as well. It's a great way to introduce yourself to the characters, to the world, and I think that it actually does tie into the very beginning of the series. So you kind of, if you start at the first book in the series, which is Blood of Elves, you might be a little bit confused at first, versus if you started with the short story collections. It's a very nice segue into the series. So I'm really excited to read the series. Can't wait to read Blood of Elves this month. Next book, Beneath the Sugar Sky, the 3rd book in the Wayward Children series. This series for me has been odd, but I'm intrigued enough to continue on with it. I liked the 2nd book more than I liked the 1st, and I don't know what this one follows, but I think it's gonna have a cotton candy world, because that's what it looks like on the cover. The next book, I bought into the hype, and I bought Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I am one of the few people who actually liked An Enchantment of Ravens. I feel like everyone hates that book. I really liked it. I thought it was cute. It was fluffy. It was a little sweet, contained story that had a cute little message and romance, and I liked it. I like my fluff sometimes. So apparently if you didn't like An Enchantment of Ravens, you liked Sorcery of Thorns, and then vice versa. Wait, what did I just say? If you did like An Enchantment of Ravens, you may not like Sorcery of Thorns. I'm so confused by that statement, so I'm just gonna go into this book with very low expectations. And I think it's about like books that are alive and have magic in them, and this girl on the cover is The Librarian. I don't know what this book is. Something with a library and books and magic. Okay, bye. Next book I bought is The Breakdown by B.A. Paris, which is because I loved Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris, so now I want to read all of their works. Behind Closed Doors was so good. So I don't know what this one's about. I don't really want to know. I like going into my thrillers blind. I just saw the author and picked this up off a book outlet for super cheap. The next book I have is Things You Save in a Fire by Catherine Center. I really enjoyed How to Walk Away by Catherine Center, so I'm really excited to read her novel from last year. This is about a female firefighter who moves to a new town and has to get reacclimated to a new fire station, and she is very much prejudiced against because she's a woman or he is a firefighter, and then I guess a romance blossoms. I don't know. I like firefighters. Sounds great. The next book I bought, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Oh my gosh, that title is a mouthful. I have a full review of this book that I'll link down below. I loved it. This was so much fun. It's everything you'd expect. It's Southern charm meets Dracula, and I just loved it. It was so great, and if Kathy Bates doesn't star in this movie, what is even the point? The next book I bought, totally on a whim, I don't know. Steelker Saga by Paul Kruger. This cover is so stunning, and look at that spine, oh my god. For some reason, I think this is like a Pokemon fantasy. Yes, it says Avatar: The Last Airbender meets Pokemon. Say no more, that sounds great. So if you like Pokemon and Avatar: The Last Airbender like I do, check this out. Next book I bought, Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. This is one of my must-read books of 2020 as well, and I'm just working my way through all of Brandon Sanderson's books. I've actually heard really negative reviews recently on Steelheart, which now I'm like not as excited to go into it. I really like superheroes. I like all those comic book movies and such. So I was really excited originally to read Steelheart. Now I'm a little more nervous. Young adult fantasy, dystopian novel, sci-fi novel, I don't really know, about superheroes. I am so bad at describing stuff. Oh my god. The next book I bought, Armada by Ernest Cline. I loved Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, so I know that this one isn't as well reviewed, but I don't really care because I just want to read anything else this man puts out. Armada, I think, follows a boy who basically is playing this virtual reality game about like alien invasions, but then the reality game, like virtual reality game, becomes reality, and like there's really an alien invasion going on, and he knows how to beat it because he knew how to beat this game or something like that. It sounds great. I'm so excited about this. I love a good fun sci-fi. Another hopefully fun sci-fi, Artemis by Andy oh my god, by Andy Weir. I realized I don't know how to say that name. He wrote The Martian. That is like one of my top 10 books of all time. So since he put out Artemis, I also know that this was not as well reviewed as The Martian. So I'm going in with lower expectations, but I think it's about a like colony on the moon and something about the moon, and I don't know. I love The Martian, so I picked up Artemis and hopefully I'll like it. Another one where it's like, I don't know what this is about, but I liked the other work that I read by this author, and that is Anyone by Charles Sewell. I love The Oracle Year by Charles Sewell. That was a total surprise for me because it's not very well reviewed on Goodreads, so I went into that book with really low expectations and ended up having so much fun with The Oracle Year. So I immediately picked up Anyone by Charles Sewell, and basically I don't... It says that Charles Sewell brings his signature knowledge and wariness of technology to his sophomore novel, set in a realistic future about a brilliant female scientist who creates a technology that allows for the transfer of human consciousness between bodies and the transformations this process wreaks upon the world. Sounds great. Cover's really cool. I love when they print it on the book itself, and they did that with The Oracle Year as well. Oh, look how cool these look. Oh, I just love when author books match. It made me so happy. Oh, my books just fell. Oh my god. Okay, anyways, continuing. The Outsider by Stephen King I also bought, and I've also read this, reviewed it in one of my previous videos that I'll link down below. I really had fun with this. The reason I picked it up was because I saw the trailer for the HBO miniseries and was blown away by that trailer. And I don't even know if I'm gonna watch the TV show, but I just had so much fun with this book. It's a supernatural thriller / horror novel. If you don't like supernatural elements in your thrillers, avoid this, but if you do, this was so much fun. Highly recommend. Staying on this Stephen King track, I also have Stephen King's Carrie, The Shining, and Salem's Lot in this gorgeous Barnes & Noble collectible edition. Look how cool that is. So there's the spine. And I didn't own The Shining. That's the only one I've read from this collection, and that's my favorite Stephen King novel so far. But now I also have Carrie and Salem's Lot that I'm so excited to read. So hopefully I can get around to these very soon, because this is stunning, and it's got like silver pages. Look how cool that is. Oh, it's so crisp. Next book, No Exit by Taylor Adams. Already read this, already reviewed it in a previous video. Very, very good, very fast paced, lots of atmosphere, just super fun. It's about a girl who gets stuck in a blizzard and has to pull off into this rest stop on the highway, and basically she's alone in this rest stop with 4 other strangers and discovers a child in a cage in the back of a van in the parking lot, and realizes one of the strangers that are in this rest stop with her is a kidnapper, and she has to figure out what to do and how she's gonna make it out alive while she's waiting out this blizzard. It was really fun. Next 2 books I bought were immediately upon finishing Sleeping Giants. I went to Book Outlet and ordered Waking Gods and Only Human, and I am so excited to continue on with this series. I loved Sleeping Giants so much. I highly recommend that audiobook. It is a sci-fi mystery novel, sort of, about a girl who as a kid has an accident and falls into this huge like robotic hand, and then we jump forward into the future, and this girl has now become a scientist, and she's trying to discover where the rest of this like big robot's pieces are buried around the world. And it just gets really political, and the government gets involved, and it's just so good. I love, love, love this book. So I'm super excited to continue on with the series now. And then the last 4 books I bought were just because I am a child at heart and I love all the nostalgic feels, and that is Sailor Moon volumes 2 through 5 in these beautiful Eternal editions that are new. Here is volume 2 with Sailor Mercury. Love Sailor Mercury. Volume 3 with Sailor Mars. So badass. Volume 4 with Sailor Jupiter. Oh, I love this one so much. How cool is that? And then Sailor Volume 5, which is Sailor Venus. Love it. I love these so much. It makes me so happy to own these. I read the first one and just loved it so much. It's, you know, it's targeted towards younger kids, but my goodness, did I have so much fun with it. It's just so nostalgic. Sailor Moon growing up was my favorite thing ever, so I'm just really excited to own these gorgeous editions. Can't wait to get the rest of them. So those are all the books that I've acquired and bought myself during these quarantine months. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to. I release new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And until next time, bye.